Welcome to Multimedia Magicians. My name is Abhijit. Before we proceed, everyone, please mute your mics. Let me introduce our Toastmaster for today, Pooja Joshi. Pooja, it's all you.
Thank you, Abhijit, and welcome everyone to another meeting of the Multimedia Magicians. For those of you who are new here, we try in this club to give our Toastmasters speeches but enhance them with some form of multimedia usage. We also start off the meeting in a different way. There is well, the equivalent would be a table topics, but you would have a visual prompt here, which Derek will be hosting. And you look at the visual and you have 30 minutes to speak about that. Derek will tell us whose turn is when. Then we will move on to speeches. After a speech, this time we will have formal evaluators. And after the evaluators have given their evaluations, we'll have some round robin feedback. So I will call upon you. If you want to give feedback, please do raise your hand. And if you don't, if no one has raised their hands, I will ask someone to, add a few words. If you don't have anything new to say, please, you are welcome to say that, I don't have any different feedback. We'll have 30 minutes for this 30 seconds each for this round robin feedback, after which we will end the meeting. So to start off, I hand it over to Derek to host our lightning slides section. Over to you, Derek.
Hello, everyone. I will be leading the lightning round today, and to be in line with our theme of the day, give thanks, I'm going to be showing you a couple of pictures. These pictures will give you a reminder of something that you could be thankful for. So basically, you see the picture, you're reminded of something, and you start talking about what you're thankful for. You have 30 seconds. The timer is this white circle. Once it reaches the bottom, it's time's up and it's time for the next person. The first person will be Pei Liang. Whoa, go for it. What are you thankful for?
I'll be thankful for all the friends and family that I have around me. I had just moved to a new city, so there are a lot of things that I don't know what to do, and sometimes I feel a bit lonely because I'm away from home. But with the friends that I have here, I feel like happy, and I'm grateful for all their help.
Thank you. Thank you for speaking. Next is Sandra.
When I see these two gals, I'm reminded of the great friends that I've made throughout my life and have tolerated me all these years and stuck with me. And with the use of Facebook, it's so nice that we can keep in contact, send well wishes during the holidays, enjoy our times together, and have great memories. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Next, we will have Nora. Unmute yourself, please.
It's really important to check your health and be thankful that you are healthy. Health checkups yearly. Everybody usually gets a health checkup the first of the year. I'm no different. I get my health check at the beginning of the year, and it's always positive, and I'm so thankful.
Next is Linda.
Wow, I saw yes, the businessman is go business trip. And yeah, he is on the flight to the on board on the flight, and he is very exciting because he will be beginning the new journey. Maybe he will be in his mind will be scheduled one next appointment. What is exciting for the potential clients coming soon? So yes, okay. For the beginning new journey, he is very exciting. The sunshine, everything is good. Beginning day. Thank you, back.
Pooja, what are you thankful for? Please unmute yourself.
Do you mean me or do you mean Michael? Because he has my link and he has my name.
Oh, do you want to skip? Okay. I guess we're
I
going to
can-
Michael.
Sure, I can go. I look at this and I think about all the things that I should be eating, may not always end up eating, but it also reminds me of a wholesome meal that I need to make for my family.
Okay. Michael, are you ready?
I am.
What are you thankful for?
This is a representation of learning. I'm always thankful for new knowledge. It's very important that we continue to keep our brains active. Along with health, our brain health is very important. It's good to have your body in health, but if you have a sick brain, you can't think properly. I can't think of anything worse than that. Back to you.
What about Asha? Are you ready? Hello?
Yes. Pets. I'm happy to see the pets, but not at my home, outside. They are look very pretty. Inside the home, if I take them, then I have to do a lot of work, which I don't have time. So that's my conclusion.
Chi, is that how you pronounce her name? Chi Kawahara?
It's pronounced Chie.
Chi-A, okay. Are you ready?
Yep. I am grateful for the morning conversations that I have with my husband. Oftentimes, when we get up, we turn to each other and say, "Did you have a dream? What did you dream about? What was it about?" And we spend perhaps 20, 30 seconds in the morning talking about our dreams. Usually they're bizarre, but always illuminating.
Thank you. What about you, Sergey?
What about me? I believe there is just too many things to be grateful for, given my so far nearly perfect life. They be thankful to my family and friends who gave me all these opportunities to come to the US and study and eventually find a job.
All right. Job is good to be thankful for. What about Justin? You ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what are you thankful for?
Oh my God. You know, I'm thankful for having a clean bathroom. I've been in dirty bathrooms at nightclubs. I've been to dirty bathrooms at local parks. And there's nothing like being able to do what you got to do in the comfort of your own home at peace without thinking about crazy germs or people knocking on the door. So I'm thankful for having a very usable and clean bathroom.
All right, and that's the end of the lightning round. Thank you for playing.
Thank you, Derek. That was a fun session with some great prompts. We will now move on to our speaking section. Our first speaker today is Faye Lanko. He will be speaking from the Pathway Presentation Mastery Level 1, Evaluation and Feedback. His speech title is Infrastructure, a Difference Maker. The speech will be 5 to 7 minutes, and his evaluator will be Linda. Faye will be speaking to us about his cycling experience and the bicycle infrastructure in the US and the Netherlands. Over to you, Faye.
Can you see the screen? Okay. In the early days of 2020, I moved to California for an internship in the US. Before my very first day of work, I needed to figure out how to commute between my home and the office. Fortunately, my landlord has an unused bicycle. I saw California is always sunny and my area is mostly flat. So it should be cycling should be a pretty good method of commuting to the office. So I open up Google Map and I find like two routes that I can commute between my home and the office. The first route will go through 2 miles of normal road. And my second route will be going through 1 mile of bicycle-friendly road and then turn to a road with a dedicated bike lane. Naturally, I picked the second route because it has a much better bike lane coverage than the first. As soon as I turned onto the main road, I realized what does bicycle-friendly road mean in the US. It means a very narrow bike lane with a very small bicycle lane marking. And I had to bike uphill on the side of the road while a car was speeding at 50 miles per hour next to me. And I had to bike on this road for another mile before I can turn into a smaller road with a dedicated bike lane. After work, I decided to try out the second route. In this route, I'll be going through a dedicated bike trail first. The route starts with a really nice bike lane along a waterway, but good things always come to an end, and I had to turn into a wide suburban road. As you may have noticed, the road is so wide that it's like a shoulder that's wide enough to fit a car. And this wide shoulder is not for bicycle lane, it's for car parking. While I was biking in the dust, I had to try to avoid hitting the car parked on my right side. I also had to avoid being hit by a car passing me on the left. And I bike on this road for 2 miles before I finally come to an intersection with a dedicated bike lane. In this intersection, I had to wait between like 2 different cars, one on the left and one on the right. But at the very least, I don't have to worry about the right turning car cutting me off. After the intersection, the bicycle lane disappeared. Instead, it was replaced by a road sign that welcomed me into a bicycle-friendly community. Is this really a bicycle-friendly community? The answer is clearly no. In just a few weeks before this bike ride, I was living in the bicycle paradise, the Netherlands. Starting with my bike route between my residence and my school. As you can see on the top map, the bicycle lanes are mostly straight. And if I have a car and I drove to school, I would need to take a detour in the south via a freeway. In the Dutch city planning, bicycle route have a much higher priority than the car route. There are many bicycle-only shortcuts and bridges that allow me to significantly cut down the bicycling time. This seems like a rather unjust advantage for the bicycle. However, cyclists are much slower than cars. Additionally, there are a lot of rings in the Netherlands. This means the car driver are shielded from all the nasty weather, while as cyclists, I will have to bike through the rainy weather. As soon as you start to biking on a Dutch bike lane, you will start to notice a wide separation between the bike lane and the car lane. And also, all the bike lanes are clearly marked. So when a pedestrian tends to cross the bike lane, you will start to pay like extra attention to a cycler on the bike lane. And in general, there are bicycle lane coverage infrastructure everywhere throughout a Dutch cities. And my favorite part of a Dutch bicycling infrastructure is bicycle parking garage. As you can see here, there are rows and rows of bicycle racks. And this is a very typical Dutch train station. And the best feature of the bicycle parking garage in a train station is that I can walk straight down onto the train platform. If I need to catch a train in a hurry, I can park my bike. I can walk straight down onto the train platform and catch a train all in 1 minute. And that bicycle parking infrastructure everywhere throughout the city. For example, this are the bicycle rack in front of my favorite store in the Netherlands. And this is a 2-story parking garage at my universities. As I will show you, there's still a wide gap between a bicycle-friendly community in the US and just a normal community in the Netherlands. And the bicycle experience is very much depending on the bicycle infrastructure. As a cyclist, I feel much more comfortable riding in the Netherlands than riding in the US. And subsequently, I increased the usage of bike when I was in the Netherlands. And I hope one day, I too can bike like Dutch in my community in the US. I'll give back to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, Pei. Now it's time for Pei's evaluation, and I hand it over to Linda.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, our Toastmaster, the fellows. I'm Linda. Today, I'm very pleased to take the evaluator's role for the Peace speech. The general, I think, Peace, the excellent, excited for his topic choice. The purpose he want to demonstrate for the communities, the virus, the transportation. So the topic is a purpose is very clear. Also, I found he a little bit will be move on for some the slide. The slide is so large, and I suggest if you can be the struggle very clearly will be much better. So I will be for some parts will be the evaluate for some the speech. The first thing I think your eye contact. Your eye contact, I suggest you try to focus on the camera, can be directed to communicate to show the audience. So sometimes you always see the screen, see your presentation, right? So I suggest you see the camera lens will be show you the communication and with your audience do the communication very well. And judges your body language. Sometimes you do very well, but I suggest sometimes you do not a lot of the hand movement. So sometimes you can just when you see majors, you will to point, you use your body language with your hand movement, but sometimes you don't need a lot, use so many times. But you are very good for your clarified, for your language, is something is good and clearly, but you also, you will be used lots of the vocabulary, that is good. So, okay. Comfortable, I think you are very confident and a little bit nervous, but general, it's okay because you have just the beginning of the speech, you have long way, we are all here, we are always learn each other, we can support each other. So general, overall, I found this is your speech the first time maybe, or maybe icebreaker the first time, right? For this speech, I think you do very well. Just a little bit, you want to move forward, that will be very good. So for the evaluation form, I will be sending you later, and it will be send you by email, maybe some days later, I will be doing it. Thank you, and go back our Toastmaster.
Thank you, Linda, for that evaluation. I will move to a round robin evaluation now, but before I move on, I just want to tell you guys that you may hear beeping again. My husband decided to put the bread machine in this room and I can't move it out because it's already started. So there are no fires, it's just a kitchen appliance. Namrita, would you like to give some feedback to Pei?
The speaker's content was very good. I really like the way he narrated and structured the speech, starting with the road and how it narrows down and eventually there is no bike lane. And then he went on to narrate about the way he has the parking facilities So overall, I got the idea what he's speaking about. I'm not sure what his project, goal is, but the speech was very clear and was well formed and it was well presented. Thank you.
Thank you, Namita. Nara, would you like to say something?
Thank you. I really enjoyed the speech, the comparison between a bike-friendly community or country and the US. I really thought that was a great comparison. And the bike garage, at first I thought that was a store. So I would have liked to have heard more about the garage, or maybe I missed something. Why are there so many bikes in the Netherlands versus so many cars in the United States, or in the communities of the United States? Everybody wants to be on the car. So I would have liked to have heard more about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Nara. Michael Cohen, would you like to say something?
Very simply, I like the contrast kind of a speech, which is what he gave. He contrasted the Netherlands with the United States, and the differences are striking. As was pointed out before, I did get that the area where the bicycles were stored was a parking garage for bicycles. That's something I have never heard of, and I like to be informed. So if your speech was informative, if that was your purpose, you hit a home run. I learned a lot. As with the last evaluator, I didn't quite understand what you were going for. It would be best to have something in the introduction about the title of the speech and where on the path you are. I heard level 1, but I needed a little more. Apparently you were going for an evaluation. I'm not sure I understand what the purpose is. Are you going to be evaluated, or are you later going to evaluate? I'm not quite certain about that. With that in mind, back to you.
Thank you, Michael. With this speech project, generally it's the speaker will give a speech, and then based on that feedback, they will enhance the speech and give it again another time. We will now move on to our next speaker, Justin. Justin spoke to us last time and explained and introduced and taught us how to use OBS Studio. And taking that theme forward, he will be talking to us today about creating your dynamic virtual Zoom background using PowerPoint. This is Presentation Mastery Level 5, Project 1, Prepare to Speak Professionally. His speech will be for 18 to 22 minutes, and Michael Haynes is his evaluator. Justin will walk us through how he used PowerPoint to create the dynamic virtual background that he projected behind him using OBS Studio for his contest-winning speech, The Gift. Over to you, Justin.
Thank you so much, Pooja, and good evening, everybody. It's good to see you all again. When I was here last time, I started with a question. I asked all of you if you've ever given a presentation over Zoom, and when you look out into your Zoom audience, if you see faces like this or like this. And many of you nodded your head yes, that you see faces like this when you present over Zoom. I told you that I know how you feel, because when I first started presenting over Zoom, I would look out into Zoom land and see faces like this as well. And then I talked about how, as a result of seeing those faces, I started to research different software technology to make my speeches more engaging so that my audience would be more captivated during my speeches. Then I gave you a sample from a speech titled The Gift, where I talked about being asked to be the best man in my friend's wedding and my journey through that. That speech sample that I showed you, it included images. For example, this one of Confucius. It included a quote from Confucius. And then if you remember, I incorporated some sound effects when I talked about the different thoughts I was having. Let me play them for you now.
Giving this speech is going to be dreadful. You are going to embarrass yourself.
And then I talked about being under the spotlight. After I gave you that short sample, I then talked about how everything I just did was possible using PowerPoint and OBS Studio. Essentially what I'm doing is I'm taking a PowerPoint deck that I created and I'm using OBS Studio to project the deck behind me. Most of the time that I spent when I was last here was on OBS Studio. But today, I want to walk you through how I actually made the slides in PowerPoint. The agenda is going to go as follows. I'm going to give you a short PowerPoint tutorial, and then I'll go into OBS to show you how you can project the deck behind you if you missed that the last time we were here. And then with any extra time that we have, I'm going to open up to all of you for Q&A. Sound good? All right.
Sounds great.
Perfect. So at this point, I'm going to share PowerPoint. Give me 1 second here, please. Okay. Just bear with me. Okay, just so you believe me, here's the PowerPoint deck that I just used when I was building this when I delivered this presentation for all of you. So let me walk you through how I made this deck. The cool thing about PowerPoint, everybody, it's really not that hard to use. And there's a ton of tutorials online that you can use to learn. Okay, when I first created this deck, I knew that I wanted a very simple blue background. So I went to our trusty friend Google and I typed blue zoom background. I hit on images and I saw this one right here, which I liked a lot. I simply clicked on it. It popped up over here. I did a right click, save image as. Then I saved it to my desktop as blue zoom background, just like that. And I saved it on my desktop. So here you can see the image, which I just downloaded, blue zoom background. Then I went into PowerPoint. What's really cool about PowerPoint, you can set the background of your slides to any image or picture. What you do is you do a right click, format background. On the right-hand side, you have options in which you can fill your background. You want to choose picture or texture fill. Then I'm going to insert the picture that I just downloaded from the web, which is the blue zoom background. And just like that, you can see that now the background of my PowerPoint deck is that image. Because I'm going to use this background for the rest of my slides, I'm simply going to duplicate the slide. Just like that 4 times. The next thing I wanted to do was incorporate a picture of Confucius, a very flattering picture of Confucius. I did the same thing. I went into Google. I searched for Confucius. I found this image here, which I liked a lot. I did a right click, save image as, saved it to my computer as Confucius, hit save there. You can see the images here. I go into PowerPoint, and what's cool is I can just drag this in there, just like that. Let me move this slide up here. I can drag it there. I can move it over, resize it just like that. And then I like to add a nice little shadow for an effect. So over here on the right, you can see the shadow options. There's some presets, which make it a lot easier for you. I choose the first one right here, which is an outer shadow on the right-hand corner. I hit that. And then here on size, you can change the size of the shadow. You can make it really big, or you can make it really small. So just like that. So that's how I came up with my Confucius slide. The next thing I wanted to do was incorporate a quote by Confucius. So what I did there, I went to the insert menu up on top. I selected text box, and I put a text box right there. And then I started typing. He who conquers himself is the mightiest warrior. Confucius. It's hard to see, so I'm going to make the font white up here. And I'm going to change the font to one of my favorite fonts, which is American Typewriter. And then I'm going to increase the size of this so you can see it a little bit clearer. That's a little too big. How about 25. Or actually, how about 35? That sounds good. Okay, so that's what I have so far. So let's see what this looks like in presentation mode. Now, one cool thing I want to show you, if you go to slideshow up here and click on setup slideshow, if you click the middle option, which is browses window, what that does is when you go into presentation mode by clicking this, the window shows up on your screen in whatever size you want it to without having you to use a second monitor. Okay. So there's Confucius, there's the quote. But what I want you to notice, look how abrupt it is. It's not very smooth. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to apply a smooth transition by going to the transitions tab on top, and I'm going to choose fade. Okay, I'm going to choose fade, and I'm going to apply it all up here. And watch what that does to my deck when I go through it. See, it's a much smoother transition from one slide to the next. So you can play around with various transitions to get to a point where the slide looks the way you want it to. Okay, now I'm going to walk you through the most probably complex slide in my deck, which is the one that incorporated the thought bubbles and the sound effects. Okay, the first thing I did here, I inserted a thought bubble shape. PowerPoint has a ton of preset shapes that you can use. You simply go to Insert Shapes. I'm going to scroll all the way down here, and you'll see these thought bubbles. So there's a thought bubble there. Now, you can change the color of the thought bubble by doing the shape fill. Let's just choose this green right here. I don't like the outline around it, so I'm going to go here to the outline and just say no outline. And then I want to make it a little bit transparent. So on the right-hand side under transparency, you can move this over until it's pretty much gone. Get it to a point where it looks as, you know, that's pretty cool there, which is transparent, but you can still see it. So I like this. Now I'm going to right click on the box, copy, and I'm going to paste it over here. And what's cool is you can take this little yellow box here and move it so that the thought bubble appears like it's coming from my head area. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a text box. Give me 1 second. Insert a text box here. I'm going to type, giving this speech is going to be dreadful. I'm going to make the font here. Let's try white. And I'm going to change the font to Copper Plate Gothic, which is another font I like. I'm going to make this, let's say 25. I'm going to center it here and maybe make it a little bit bigger. Giving this speech is going to be dreadful. I'm going to copy that, paste it, put it over here, and then just change the words. You are going to embarrass yourself. And I'll position it right there. Okay, so let me just zoom out a little bit. The next thing I'm going to do, and I'm going to explain later why I do this, I'm going to group the words along with the corresponding thought bubble. So the way I'm going to do that, I'm going to click on the thought bubble first. I'm going to hold the shift key down, then select the text. I'm going to right click on the border, group as a group. Okay, so now the words and the bubble are a group together, and I'll explain why I do that later. I'm going to do the same thing here. Select the thought bubble, hold the shift key down, select the text, right click group. Okay. Now the second thing I'm going to do, you see over here, these are sound files that I recorded on my cell phone. Okay, I took out my cell phone, I recorded myself, and then I emailed myself the files and saved them to my computer. So this is the first sound file. Let me play this for you.
Giving this speech is going to be dreadful.
And here's a second file.
You are going to embarrass yourself.
So again, all I did, I recorded that on my cell phone using my recording app and then emailed it to myself. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to drag these over here. Then put it up there. This one is going to go over here. Okay, now we're going to animate this. And what I mean by that, I want to tell PowerPoint, when I hit the enter button the first time, I want you to show the first bubble with the first set of words and play the sound corresponding to it at the same time. And then do the second bubble with the words and the sound when I hit enter the second time. The way we're going to do that, we're going to go to the animations tab up here and click on animation pane. You can see the sound bites are already here. So I just need to add these bubbles. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click on this group. Again, I grouped them together. So now they're combined. I'm going to hit the animation here, which says fade. Okay. So you can see group 5 corresponds to this. I'm going to move this up because I want this to play first. Under timing, you can see it says on click. That means when I click the button, that first group of words is going to show up. Now, this sound bite, giving the speech is going to be dreadful. I want it to start with previous, right? Because the previous is the thought bubble. Now I'm going to add this group here. Again, I clicked it, then I click fade. I'm going to move it up. So this is going to start on click. And then you are going to embarrass yourself is going to start with previous. Okay. So let's see what that looks like. Let me just start from this slide here.
Giving this speech is going to be dreadful. You are going to embarrass yourself.
You see how that works? Okay, good. The last slide I want to show you is the spotlight slide. So let me just duplicate that again and go down here. Again, I go to my trusty friend Google. I did a search for spotlight. I saw this image here, which I liked. I did a right click, save image as, spotlight, saved it to my desktop, which is right there. And then I do a right click this time, format background. I'm going to change the picture of the background to that spotlight. And there you have it. Okay, so that's the deck so far. How are we doing on time, Abhijit?
14 minutes.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Okay, so now everybody, I'm going to show you how to use OBS Studio to project the deck behind you so that when your Zoom audience watches you, they can see this. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in presentation mode like I talked about. Then we're going to go into OBS Studio. I'm going to do a new project here. Say test 1. Okay, so here is OBS Studio, which you can download for free from obsproject.com. Very cool tool, which a lot of YouTubers use. All right, I'm going to create the scene now. A scene is what your audience sees when they watch you on Zoom or YouTube or whatever. You can create different scenes based on the different video canvases you want to show your audience. A scene is made up of sources. A source is basically the source of the content or video that you want your audience to see when they view you. We're going to have 2 sources. The first is me in my video, and the second source is the PowerPoint deck behind me. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go here to sources. These are all the sources you can pick. I'm going to choose video capture device to capture my video. So the device is my HD Pro webcam C920. You can see me there. So I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. And like I talked about before, OBS Studio has a chroma key feature, which allows you to use a green screen. At this point, I'm going to eliminate the green screen so that when I put the PowerPoint deck behind me, you can see it. The way we're going to do that is I'm going to click on video capture, go to filters. Under effect filters, we're going to choose chroma key. Going to hit OK. And believe me, this is not that hard to do. So you can already see it's disappearing because it recognizes green as the green screen color. I'm just going to move this over a little bit. And you can see the green screen's completely disappeared now. The second thing I'm going to add is the PowerPoint deck, which we have right here. Let me just make this a little bit smaller in the corner. Okay. So I'm going to add a source, which is a window capture, right? We're capturing PowerPoint. So create a new window capture. Under window, the PowerPoint deck is here. So you can see it's in front of me. I'm just going to use the down arrow over here to move the window capture behind me like that. And I'm going to expand this, move it up a little, get rid of that white border. Move it up a little bit more. That should be pretty good. So let's test this out. You see, as I'm going through the deck, just hitting the enter button in PowerPoint, it's capturing that in OBS Studio.
This speech is going to be dreadful. You are going to embarrass yourself.
Okay, so this is ready to go. And now let's put it into Zoom. So you'll notice here, there's a start virtual camera button. Just recognize you need to press that button before you go into Zoom to select OBS Studio as the camera. And when you do that, whatever you see here, your audience is going to see. So let me do that now. Let me stop, actually, okay, I'm screen sharing. So let me stop sharing. Okay, so I'm going to select OBS virtual camera at this point. Let's see what happened here. Start virtual camera. There you go. So now OBS is the camera. And like we talked about, you can now see the deck which we created. Let me make sure I'm sharing my sound first of all.
Giving this speech is going to be dreadful. You are going to embarrass yourself.
All right, so that is how you create a deck in PowerPoint and do some pretty cool things with it, with your own background, some images, some animations, and then use OBS Studio to project that deck behind you, animations and all, so you can create more dynamic presentations and hopefully eliminate any of those bored and disinterested faces that you might see out there in Zoom world. So with that, if we have any time, I'd love to take any questions that you might have.
We can take questions. Ravi has a question. Yeah, go ahead, Namita.
Can you hear me, Abhijit?
Yes, I can hear you.
First question, how can I make the slides transparent? Means I just want a wall behind me and I want the picture of and the quotes show up on the wall rather than the blue background. Is that possible?
Okay, I think here, one thing you can do is the picture that you put as your Zoom back, as your PowerPoint background is literally a wall. For example, when I've given speeches before, I go on Google and I type gray wall and I download the picture of a gray wall. And then I set my PowerPoint background to the gray wall. So it looks like there's a wall behind me.
Okay, cool. And instead of your green background, can I use a white wall?
That's a very good, that's a very good question, Ravi. So if a lot of you notice in Hollywood, they use the term green screen. The reason they use green is because that shade of green is not found on people's clothing or in people's faces or skin color. If you use white, and if your eyes are white, like all of ours are, then the computer is going to project the background onto whatever's white on your body. Does that make sense? So you want to use a color that is not found on your clothing or on your person, because if it is, then the image is going to be projected to that part of your body.
Thank you. And how are you changing the slides? Are you pressing spacebar and enter, or I see you're not using the mouse?
Yeah, very good question. So it's kind of an illusion. I have a wireless keyboard. You don't have to use a wireless keyboard, but I just have it hidden under here, and I'm just pressing the enter button. Let me show you. I'm just pressing the enter button to advance the slide.
Yeah. Thank you. Great presentation. Thank you, Abhijit.
Thank you.
Justin, Diana has a question. How do I do that? How do I cast my background?
How do I cast my background?
Yeah.
I'm not sure what that question means.
Diana, can you type it? Namita, go ahead till that time.
Right, regarding the OBS part, I just want to know, how did you use PowerPoint as your background? Because I missed that part.
Oh, okay. So in OBS Studio, you're gonna select the source as the PowerPoint window capture. okay? So you're basically taking the PowerPoint window and using that as a source, and it's literally being put behind you. So OBS allows you to take the PowerPoint deck and place it behind you, and then you're in the forefront of that scene. Does that help?
No, actually, I was wondering because the option selected in OBS was to project your video, right? Windows video, I guess.
Yeah, first, there's two sources in order for me to make this scene, which is what you see here.
Mhm.
The first one is the video, where I added the video so that you could see me. And then the second source is the PowerPoint deck, which I told OBS to put behind me.
Understood. So can you tell me which tutorial you used or any YouTube channel you referred to?
Yeah, how about I'm going to ping Abhijit with a tutorial after this meeting. And I will tell all of you something. Here's a little secret. If you click the share screen button in Zoom, which you might not be able to do now, Zoom has a built-in feature under the advanced tab, which allows you to share slides as virtual background. Now, you're going to be able to do 99% of what I just did with that built-in feature. But what you will not be able to do is incorporate animations from your deck using that feature. If you want to have things kind of popping up dynamically, so to speak, or use sound effects, that's when you need to use OBS Studio. I recommend you can go to YouTube and just type OBS tutorial. There is so much information on YouTube about OBS. So I recommend first trying the built-in feature in Zoom, and I'll put a link into the chat today. And then once you get comfortable with that, maybe start looking into OBS Studio at that point. Thank you for the question.
Justin, can you use all these features only in Zoom platform, or you can use in Teams or any other platform as well?
That's a very relevant question, Asha, because for a long time, WebEx Teams did not have integration with OBS Studio. And the reason I was looking into that is because at work, we use WebEx Teams. But recently, WebEx Teams allows the use of a virtual camera, which is the key. So WebEx Teams allows it. I'm not sure about other tools, but given the prevalence and popularity of OBS Studio, I wouldn't be surprised if all the various web conferencing tools now allow you to integrate OBS Studio with their platform.
Michael Cohen, go ahead.
Yes, I noticed how you changed various things in the background. If you wanted to, can you change yourself? Because I have an idea for a speech where I would like to, quote unquote, wear something totally different. Now, I'm aware of filters and things like that, but they're very crude. I have a feeling you know ways of going beyond that. Like, could you dress as an airline pilot if you wanted to, or something like that?
You mean put like a costume on yourself?
Basically, yes.
You know, Derek Ho is really the expert in that. Derek is a friend of mine from my home club. He was a Toastmaster one time and showed up in like an Iron Man virtual costume that looked pretty cool and pretty real. So Derek is the right person. And Derek, I think the short answer is yes. There are
going to be in
tools that allow you
touch.
to kind of put a different costume on yourself, correct? Derek Ho?
Yeah, you can totally put costumes in front of you. It just depends on how advanced you want to make it. During the Chinese Moon Festival, I thought about wearing one of those Chinese themed clothing that you only see in those wushu movies like Crouching Tiger. But the thing is, I didn't own any of those clothing. So I got a photo from Google. I cut it out just the clothing part and just put it on front of me like a sticker. It didn't move, so I had to make sure that I didn't move away from the camera. Yeah, it's kind of like those those theme parks where they have a picture cardboard cutout and they have this circle where you stick your head through. It was kind of like that, except a more virtual version of it.
Yep. Yeah, so but you two can probably connect offline. I think Derek's also aware of tools that are more virtual, and even if you move around and walk around, the costume will still be on you. Linda Mao?
Yeah, thank you, Justin. Always the fantastic presentation and lots of the musicians skills. For me, it's a very basic the question is when I use the virtual background, I always send in advanced. But you see, I can show you why it cannot be find this one. So I'm not sure why is I cannot show my face. Just I change my background. So I'm not. Can you tell me or maybe a little?
Yeah. Are you using? Do you have a green screen or no?
I click I have a green screen, but it cannot be transferred.
Okay, this is a good segue. Actually, who was the person who asked about the background color? Is he still here? I don't think he's here anymore.
Yeah, you see,
Okay. Yeah. So this is Linda. So can you turn off your image first? Okay. Look at everybody. Look at the color of Linda's background and then the shade of her face. You see so the computer's getting confused because it's saying, okay, wherever I see the beige, I'm going to put the image there. But then your face, the color of your face on the computer also kind of resembles that, right? So that's the reason you would want to use a green screen and then tell Zoom the color behind me is green, which you can do in the Zoom.
So it means I want to download the Zoom background in green, right?
No. What I'm saying is the wall that you're standing in front of at home, you either got to put something green or just go maybe try white or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I need to transfer the greens for my wall background, right?
Yeah, some computers, maybe go into a room where the wall is white. Can you try that?
Oh, okay. Maybe, yeah, I will go next room.
Yeah, so try that.
Okay. And I got it. So you see right now I got it. So, okay, that is my question. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Namitha, you have another question?
Yeah, but
yeah,
when I use it, my background changes properly in Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just confused. It feels like technology is racist now.
You're confused with what?
No, that see, if I change the background like she said, for example, I'm sorry. If I change my background to green, it goes to green, right?
Yeah. Can you turn off the video image behind you and just show me what your wall looks like behind you?
Yeah, like this, it's white.
Okay.
But
so here's the thing. Your background is white and your skin tone is not white, right? So the computer doesn't get confused on where to put the image. The computer puts the image on the white part of your video image. With Linda though, her background was beige and the color of her skin kind of has a beige hue to it as well. So that's why when the computer was trying to put the background up, it accidentally put it on her face as well.
Okay, that's much clearer. You're good at explaining. Thank you.
Thank you. Good questions. I think we're done, right, Abhijit?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
It's time to wrap up. We will have your question, Sandra. Maybe you can type in your question and Justin can reply to you separately. We will move on to our evaluation portion of the speech, keeping in mind the time that we are at. Michael Haynes is going to be Justin's evaluator. Michael, over to you.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Justin. And congratulations on that winning speech. I'm sorry I didn't get to see it, but we all were very fortunate to have you pull the curtain back and show us some of the magical things that we all expect because we're part of Multimedia Magicians Club. I only have a few minutes. I'm going to go quickly through some cursory thoughts to kind of help you get some feedback on your presentation. I appreciated at the beginning, because I didn't see it, that you gave some background, that you told us what had happened, and it led right into the agenda. So I was able to say, okay, that's cool. I now know the context. And as I was thinking, I came back to some speeches I've done and some pathways learnings that talk about how audiences learn. And there's two that stood out clearly, the visual learning and auditory learning. And of course, you captured both of those magnificently. In fact, you got feedback from a member saying you explained things very well. And that leads me to clarity, because you asked me to talk about, were you clear? And I would say absolutely. You said what you would be doing and you did it. And you didn't do it too quick. So us newbies were able to follow you as you went through it. The questions you were asked were answered pretty clearly as well. And it's always good to repeat the question just to make sure you heard it well and just to make sure we heard the question. So let me go through some things as you work through your presentation. I would clean up that first major transition to PowerPoint to make that cleaner. That just kind of things came to a halt. So I would look at how you can make that much smoother. The elements, I was first intrigued by your saving stuff to your desktop, and it reminded me of seeing the ingredients for a cake, but then that concept kind of went away. I appreciated that we didn't have to wait for you to type in the searches so we could focus on what you're doing. But then again, you took time to type, which gave me a chance to really process what by then was a lot of information. But and on that point, you started to lose me in terms of the audio integration and such, especially when you introduced OBS. If we go way back to the beginning, I would have liked a little bit more peace of mind, and I think other people may as well, to say, hey, if you use Keynote or if you use the product from Google, I forgot the name of it, all these things or most of these things could be done. Because I have PowerPoint, I'll certainly play with it, but I'm a Keynote person. That would have given me a little bit peace of mind saying, I can do this. But basically, this all comes down to what I would call the anatomy of a winning speech. The anatomy of a winning speech. We're all speakers, we all present, and we don't usually have a lot of this magical multimedia. So that really pulled me in at the beginning. And you gave a good detailed tutorial about that. It would be fun to also consider perhaps that this entire evening is spent, the hour, where we come in with PowerPoint on our desktop or Keynote for that matter, and you walk us through, because as we got to the end, you ended up coaching some folks on do this, do that, that's why that's happening, and it really didn't fully solve the problem so we could enjoy the success. So something to think about. Finally, in conclusion, if your winning speech was recorded, I would have considered showing it first. I really am sorry I missed it, because the next question I had was, how did this presentation help you win? Could you have just delivered a speech traditionally and won? So I would have liked to seen the speech first and then kind of draw that conclusion for myself. Just food for thought. How did it end up? But really need multimedia. So teaching skills was the last thing you asked me to call out, and I'll wrap up with this. So the question in teaching is, will this be applicable, is what I thought. And I kind of came back, well, it was sort of for me. You lost me halfway through, but I left excited to try. So you won me in that regard. And I made a note, what about the tutorial? And you'd mentioned that as well. So I look forward to seeing what Abhijit is sending or posting to us. So Justin, thank you. This was quite a masterclass, I have to say, and I look forward to you parsing this further and developing it so you can be a true pro at delivering what was a fairly complicated speech. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you, Justin. That was a great evaluation of a very, very informative speech. We will skip our round robin evaluation today now because of the time that we are at. I would like to, however, ask all of you for your thoughts via email. We are still a new club. We are still developing. We are still figuring out how we do things. We would generally ask this at the end of the meeting, but today I will ask you to either email it to Abhijit or me. And let us know what you think is working, what is not working, how can we do better. We did formal evaluations today, which was different from what we did the last time. I would also like to ask for volunteers for our next meeting. Is there anyone who would like to give us a speech? Would you like to evaluate or host lightning slides? Let me know, what do you think?
Thank you so much, Pooja. You know, we can have Derek who can show us how to put on different costumes next time. Before we wrap up, I just, Sandra, you had a question for Justin, right?
Yes, I did. I do a lot of presentations with PowerPoint, and one of the frustrations I have is I can't see you. Or maybe I can see 2 or 3 of you when I'm giving my presentation. Does using the technique you have and the third-party software, the OBG, allow you to see your audience more people, more reactions? See how you're getting feedback from them to their smiles, their nods, their, ooh, I'm confused. So from a presenter standpoint, does this offer you better audience viewability?
Yeah, good question. And I'll say it doesn't make a difference in terms of audience viewability. It doesn't make it any better or worse. But I want to show you something, Sandra, that I just acquired. Give me one second. Oh man, this site looks like, okay, here we go. Perfect. Just bear with me 1 second. This is my cool new toy that I just bought a couple of weeks ago. This is called a Plexi Cam. Okay. Now, the problem I had before was my camera was placed on top of my monitor. So while all of you are down in my monitor view, I'm looking up at the camera and I'm not really able to see you all that well. This Plexi Cam allows you to take your camera, assuming you have an external camera, and position it in the middle of your screen or the top 2/3 of your screen so that you can still see the audience kind of in your peripheral view. Now, it looks like it's moving on its own. It doesn't do that. That's just showing the flexibility you have to move the Plexi Cam where you want it to be. So I'll tell you, it's not OBS Studio that makes it easier to see your audience. It's something like this that does.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you so much, Justin. Go ahead, Namita.
Sorry, I'm really interested in multimedia things. That's why the reason I joined this meeting was. So the thing is that, Justin, have you used Prezi Next? Are you aware of that? Prezi Next. It also helps to make the presentations like what you did. You did it manually, but in Prezi Next, I tried it, but I'm not able to make it as dynamic as you did it. You understand my point?
Yeah, I've heard of Prezi. I have not used it though. So I can't really speak to how easy it is to do things in Prezi.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Thank you so much,
But thank you
Justin.
for mentioning that. I'm gonna look further into it because I have heard quite a bit about Prezi.
Thank you so much,
It's
Justin.
brilliant, actually. Prezi is really brilliant because the thing you did with PowerPoint and OBS, all that can be done in Prezi Next. I'm just trying to figure out how it is done. I'm not able to do it. That is another thing.
Maybe Santa Claus knows. He's very technical.
Yeah, right. That would be my wish this year then.
Thank you so much. Sandra, how was your experience today, Sandra? You are muted, Sandra.
Right. This is really how I was looking up the PlexiCam. This is really helpful because I give upwards of 10 or a dozen presentations a week. And I've learned some of the techniques with using Zoom in the advanced tab and putting yourself in the corner, but you still, it doesn't look professional. And so I want to be able to enhance my presentations without being obvious about it. And learning any we're becoming our own AV experts within this Zoom world that's not going to go away after COVID. And so the more that we can be effective in our presentations, in our presence, and in our communication, I think they're now all rolled into one.
Thank you so much, Sandra. Amit, how was your experience today?
Well, more than the expectation, because, okay, the club's name is Multimedia Club, but I did not expect this level of learning and knowledge. I mean, Justin is really good at explaining and he's good at showing, okay, this is the way you do it. I have been using PowerPoint since 1998. So PowerPoint was not a big deal for me, but OBS, I'm trying to figure it out. I know how to record this video you're recording, I know how to edit it, but what he did, I'm yet to learn about it. So yeah, brilliant experience. I loved it. And can I take a role in the next meeting?
Sure. Yes, definitely. Nora, how was your experience today, Nora?
It's great. There's always something interesting to learn with this group. I just need to try it. And I see Derek over there making all kinds of, he had airplanes flying. It's really, it's really amazing the things that you can do.
Very true. Nora, is that your sister?
If you want to achieve it.
Lawana.
Lavana, how was your experience, Lavana?
It was great. I knew about OBS and I had made some attempts at using it, but now I want to go back and try again. I kind of sort of gave up, but I made some interesting points. So, and I will be checking it out on YouTube too.
Thank you so much.
It's a great club. I don't know why I hadn't heard of you before.
We are a brand new club. We are chartering in the month of December. So you are welcome to join us. So yeah. And we publish all our videos under YouTube. We have a banner called as Multimedia Magicians. You can look at all the videos over there.
You should end up with a big group because if the training was excellent. What was his name? Justin? Justin, you did a great job. Fabulous.
Thank you so much, Lawana. I really appreciate that.
We have time for one more question.
Yes. Yeah, go ahead, Sandra.
Another area that I'd be real interested in learning more about is Google Forms and polling in breakout rooms. Are these topics that you've already covered or will be covering in future meetings?
Sandra, I can teach you those. Me and Pooja can teach you those.
Okay.
Definitely.
Great.
Sure. Hey, how was your experience today?
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. I learned a lot from Justin. OBS was really cool.
Now you can take your presentation and use OBS and you can transform it to a completely next level.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sandra. Sergey, how was your experience, Sergey?
Even though I still have a question remaining in terms of how is all of that going to be superior to deliberately browsing YouTube lectures on the topic.
Thank you, Sergey. I was looking forward to your presentation also because you also have a presentation of cities. So maybe you can incorporate that in your presentation. We are now going to adjourn this meeting because I want to stop the time, otherwise we'll continue, but I will stop the time and we can take any questions you may have. Thank you so much. See you on December 14th, 6 o'clock. If you want to speak or if you want any role, please let Pooja know. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. Have a good day.